time came when the ticker tape in the broker's office told a new story. It was panic. 16.5 million shares of stock sold in a single day.
Ladies and gentlemen, how great is that intro? Let me just get us all up here. Dorothy coming in from the village. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Stock 30 to Me, the number one stock podcast for investors, beginners, and all those people. I'm, of course, this Phil Better, the podcast mogul. Up above me are the two smartest people I know when it comes to investing because they've been helping myself and the 50,000 members of the Stock Market for Beginners group here, learning how to be better investors. We got Tony, one half of the Stock Bros. Tony, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing good. And then we got Dalt, the licensed advisor coming in from Banting Corp Capital Management, who also has his own podcast about the stock market, investing, and all that fun stuff. Dalt, welcome back. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the show that you have?
Show's going to be great today. A couple great stock analyses that people voted on. So, of course, Alibaba, that's been a big conversation. There's been a lot of Alibaba positions being advertised in the group. Mr. Lloyd Ross, over 400,000 he has sunk in it. So it's a big topic. Again, what's going on with China and their regulatory crackdowns of tech companies. So be really interesting to talk about that. And then Teladoc Health, of course, is the market leader as far as virtual doctors meetings go and appointments. And I think it'd be great to talk about that because, as I say, if you're going to speculate or get into a new market, it's always good to be in the market leader. So to talk about Teladoc Health, I think will be great for everybody for the show. And then we're going to end off speaking about futures markets. So all about index futures, how pre-market moves, who's moving pre-market, commodity futures, currency futures, and we're going to relate that all back into the stock market. I think it's going to be one of the best ones that we've ever done.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Dalt, we actually have a question because I know you have a podcast. Mark, who is living in Tony's backyard, actually right now, he's watching live from Tony's backyard. He wants to know where they can find your podcast because I know a few weeks ago you mentioned you have a podcast that you released with your partner, I believe, from Banting Corp. So where can they find it if they want to listen to it?
So actually, I guess you could say I have two podcasts. One I just run for my Instagram. Which is, I'll type in the comments here. It is Rismay Life, and that's my Instagram. So RISMAYLIFE. And every Saturday at noon, I do a podcast about the actual either stock market, cryptocurrency market, futures, commodities, something involved in financial markets is typically what happens on that podcast every Saturday at 12. And obviously, all the ones that have been done in the past are all saved to my Insta profile, so you can go back through them for the last year. There's a whole bunch of them on there. The podcast that I started that I run with my partner, that is for more business and startup oriented stuff. So for entrepreneurs.
There we go.
And that's on YouTube. It is Pursuing Capital.
There we go. Pursuing Capital on Instagram for you, Mark. And Sabrina loves the Insta podcast, Dalt. So you already have a fan here. So there we go. All right, guys. Let's start off. We're gonna start with the apple, the diamond of our good friend Lloyd Ross's eye here. Of course, I'm talking about Alibaba.
Yeah. So.
There we go. Here's the 5-year, right?
I think before we can start with Alibaba, we have to talk about what's been happening with Alibaba over the last year. Yeah, and I think
China.
And I think where it starts at is with the story of Jack Ma. Now, Jack Ma is he's a billionaire that owns $1 trillion companies.
I wouldn't mind having
and
that problem.
he's the wealthiest man in China and the most famous man in China. In fact, there was a poll that showed that he is the most well-known Chinese man in China and in the world. He's actually more well-known than the president, Xi Jinping. So that clearly is going to annoy the Communist Party of China that there is a wealthy Chinese man that is world-renowned fame, and he's seen as a Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk type of figure. And I think it starts back in last year in October, where we started to see the downfall of Alibaba, where the stock price dropped 50%, which is kind of unheard of for a company like Alibaba. And Alibaba is essentially it's the largest e-commerce company in China, and it's essentially the Amazon, which a lot of people like to say, the Amazon of China. Now, back last October, what happened was the Jack Ma, who is an eccentric billionaire, he actually holds his own Super Bowl party-like concerts in China. There's actually videos of him playing the guitar in stadiums that are Super Bowl-like stadiums where he holds these events for his employees, massive events. He's kind of a rock star in China.
Just look. Wait. I just want to stop you for a second. Let's just look at this. This is the revenue of 2020, just this year. The year's not even done, and it's already over $600 billion.
Chinese though.
That's
still 600 billion.
So one US dollar, I think, is 7 Chinese dollars. So, you can do the math on that. But yeah, I'm going to get to the financials.
A hell of a lot of freaking money.
So before we get to the financials, we have to talk about the backstory here.
Yes.
What happened was Jack Ma is becoming very well known, very famous, and very outspoken lately over the last 2 years or so. And he was starting to speak out about the Chinese financial regulatory system and how they regulate corporations. They take money from the corporations. They essentially mine their data, and they like to distribute that money. Obviously, communism, they like to distribute wealth from these companies, but really they're not distributing it to their lower income families. They're distributing it to the communist leaders. Yeah. Right. So last October, Jack Ma gave a speech criticizing the Chinese financial regulatory system. After that speech, it kind of triggered a chain of events that resulted in them axing Ant Group IPO, which Ant Group is another multi-billion-dollar company that Jack Ma owns that he wanted to take public and have a public offering in China, in Hong Kong, and the Shanghai exchanges. The Chinese government stepped in, axed the deal, costed them billions of dollars, slapped all kinds of antitrust lawsuits on them, fined Alibaba billions of dollars.
Record fine.
Record fines. And so much so that Jack Ma disappeared for months, where people were worried about his health and where he was. As he resurfaced 3 months later, giving an awkward hostage-like speech where all of a sudden he started talking about, I actually wrote down his words so I'd remember. I've been studying and thinking, and I have become determined to devote myself to education and public welfare. He gave a speech.
That sounds like someone who was not having their arms twisted or were any type of torture.
And also after this speech, Alibaba has agreed to donate about $15.5 billion US.
I think it's right here. Mark mentioned they were forced to give away 1/3 of their profits.
Well. So they were forced. So what happened was they had to pay a fine, or donate, I should say, $15.5 billion over the next 5 years for social causes, basically redistributing wealth, which is essentially a fine that they're going to pay to the government of China. And the crazy thing is that their free cash flow per quarter is about $3 billion. And free cash flow is something I talk about a lot. Many of you that listen know what that is already. It's essentially the money they have left over after paying their business expenses. So essentially, they're going to be paying all of their free cash flow for the rest of the year to social causes for the rest of next year and beyond, I think into the next half of the following year, to social welfare or social
socialism
programs.
causes,
Yeah,
communism
basically
causes.
social programs. And that's a year and a half of free cash flow that they're not going to have to reinvest back into Alibaba. And also all of these new fines. And the reason why axing that Ant Group IPO was such a big deal is because Ant Group was the largest Chinese fintech company in the world. And they had essentially it was kind of like not a PayPal, but what's a good equivalent? What's the thing? Square. It's kind of like Square.
Stripe.
Something like that, where they weren't essentially a bank. They were more like
They were just
an
instead
online
of going
bank. It was like a payment platform / cash app type of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So China put in regulations stating that, no, you're a bank and we now have access to all of your customer data.
Jesus.
So the Chinese, I don't want to say China because it's not China. It's not the Chinese people. It's the Chinese Communist Party. They're essentially slapping all of these fines and regulations, and they've absolutely hit Alibaba so hard. And I think it's personal with Jack Ma, because he was starting to become bigger than the Chinese Communist Party themselves and went against all of their ideals, because he's this huge successful entrepreneur that's well known, gaining popularity and fame. So as far as the money side, that was the backstory of it. As far as the money side, like you talked about, I mean, they make money hand over fist every single quarter. The profits aren't really the problem. The problem is we just don't know what the government is going to do to them. I mean, they could really stifle them and destroy them if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And they are hitting them hard.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see it in their revenue. Their revenue is down. I mean, there's still a huge revenue, but
net profits down.
As far as their share price, I mean, they're definitely at a huge discount right now.
You made a really good point too, Tony, because you said that Jack Ma, and I think even to go further on that, Alibaba was becoming bigger than China itself, or the Chinese Communist Party. If you think about, I've used Alibaba many times, and I wouldn't have a couple businesses if not for Alibaba. But I mean, how many Chinese-based companies do you use other than Alibaba? None. They don't make it out of China.
Just 1 second.
Yeah,
Mark
they don't.
was asking where I'm getting this. I'm just on Google Finance. I just put in the name of the company's stock to Google Finance, and then it tells me everything there. So
he's saying it's a different price. Well, the thing I noticed too is depending on what brokerage you use, some of them, when the stock market is closed, they might show after market hours. Some don't. So the price may vary a little bit between brokerages until the market opens again, and then they'll all be the same price. So that's something to be aware of as well.
I think he also has the Hong Kong one up and not the one on the New York stock.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what the price is right now. I haven't.
166.78.
So listen, our buddy Lloyd has basically $500,000 invested in this. He's gonna live or die by this investment.
Apparently, this is his biggest placement.
It's either gonna destroy him or make him a lot of money.
Well, he's hoping. He's saying it's a 10-bagger for him. He's saying it's a 10-bagger, and yeah.
The question is that it's gonna most likely come down to how much does Alibaba help the economy of China, and will letting Alibaba thrive to some degree help the Chinese economy and GDP in the long term and help them become the superpower that they want to be, which I think the answer is probably yes, because Alibaba is so intertwined with the economy of China.
I think a couple of weeks back when we had Lloyd on and he was talking about it, it's like 1/3 of their GDP or something like that.
Yeah, it's a huge amount, and
for reasons, I think because how Alibaba helps fill shipping containers.
Yeah.
So when I order stuff over from Baba, you source your suppliers or your manufacturing houses, and then it goes into a container and it waits for that container to be filled with everybody else's goods, and then it ships, right?
Mhm.
So the Alibaba is basically putting like all Chinese shipyards, all Chinese ports, like in the hands of everyday people, right? So I would imagine that ever since Alibaba has been created, every year that all ports in China are just increasing at a rapid pace, directly linked to how Alibaba's business.
There's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. Alibaba stimulates their economy in so many different ways and factors that we probably don't even know about. So as far as letting them fail, I doubt that. I think it's more of a short-term punishment. Like, hey, get back in your place.
Mhm.
You know who you are. Don't speak out of line. We're going to send you to retraining.
Toe the party line.
They sent him to a re-education camp for months. He came out, gave it. Yeah, that's essentially what they did.
Yeah.
Gave him a hostage video, told him to read these cue cards. He read it, and that's
it's true, though. It's true, yeah.
And it's sad, but that's exactly, in my mind, exactly what happened. And there's a lot of evidence that would support that. And listen, there's a lot of political challenges for Alibaba and other similar tech companies. So it's hard to predict for investors of what the Chinese government is going to want to do. I just think they're going to basically bully them a little bit, but they're going to let them thrive. I would think it would be beneficial to let them thrive. They just control all their data, take money from them. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Well, if you think about it, hold on. I want to put this. I was just thinking, because you guys are smarter than me, and I'm just an average Joe.
We're not smart.
Yeah, when it comes to investing, you're way smarter than me.
I'm sure.
All I know is buy low, sell high. That's my investing strategy, and it hasn't worked really well for me. That's why I host this show.
Some people would say Alibaba is really low right now, and
there we go.
It's hard to argue that it's not.
But when you say that, like, they're taking their profits, if you look at it, in most of the companies here that are making billions of dollars and trillions of dollars aren't paying their fair share of taxes. So it could be that the Communist Party is just taking the taxes from them. I don't know if they have taxes like we have over here in North America, but it could be a similar style of that they're just making sure that, but of course there is problems in the Communist Party. I'm not saying the Chinese Communist Party is perfect.
Yeah,
I'm just saying people are saying they're taking the money. Well, it could be that they're taking the taxes.
Well, it's important to note that China has what's called Chinese-sponsored capitalism, or capitalism with Chinese socialism twist to it. So I'm not sure that's exactly what they're thinking is, we're just taking taxes. I think right now it's more of a punishment.
It's fully they're beating the shit out of Jack Ma.
I mean, China's building cities with no one living in these cities, so it's not like they're really trying to help their people.
No, they're just keeping the rich rich, and it's a different form of
kind of like what we do here, but
except they have a lot more space to build.
Except there's more transparency here. Yeah, we can have this conversation where in China we couldn't.
We're not allowed. No.
Right.
I'm pretty sure if I put up a picture of Winnie the Pooh and say that, oh look, that's the president.
You would go to 10 years of hard labor.
Re-educated.
Yeah,
for sure.
You would get re-education camp. You would emerge 3 months later in a hostage video.
Yeah, I'll be like, I love our president. Our supreme leader is the best.
After thinking about it and studying, I realized Winnie the Pooh looks nothing like Xi Jinping.
I would agree with everything you said. I have nothing to add, Tony. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I did write an article in June on my blog about Alibaba, and it's exactly as you said. The financials are not concerning at all. People say it's cheap. I don't think it's cheap. I think it's priced effectively given the risk of the Chinese Communist Party's influence over the company.
That's a good point.
And they're making Alibaba break up their payment app as well. So this whole so Ant was the actual financial affiliate of Alibaba as well. Oh. And so with that being broken up, they want that to kind of spin off now and be its own little thing. And they're having
what isn't an affiliate of Alibaba at this point?
And they have some media companies that Alibaba owns that they're making. The government is trying to make them drop as well. So I don't know how much revenue is going to come out of Alibaba, but I think a lot of the revenue that comes out will be kind of their other subsidiary businesses, but not their online retail kind of thing.
Kind of like Amazon makes most
Yeah,
of the
like
money
if
off
someone made
different
Amazon
products.
drop like Whole Foods or something, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be, it's not the core business that's falling apart, but all those little pieces that contribute, you know, a couple $1 billion here and there.
And they're all kind
I
of
think-
intertwined at this point. Like Alipay, like you were saying, is their payment platform. It's kind of like Apple Pay to Apple or PayPal.
If the government was like, Apple, you can't have Apple Pay anymore, or Google can't have Google Pay,
or Cash App to PayPal
Square.
or Square. Yeah.
There we go.
So I think I think that's pretty much covers everything. I know I went on a really long-winded story there, but that's all important backstory information to understand what's happening. So
Charlie Munger, though, also just to add this last point, Charlie Munger, is he chair of Berkshire?
He's the right-hand man. Yeah, he's like the brother of Warren Buffett.
I think I don't know. Yeah, I think he's on the board or something, but I don't know how much power he has. But
he doesn't have a lot, but I think he has a big title. I think it's chair of the board or president, but he also runs the Daily Journal stock portfolio, and he has been loading Alibaba quite heavily. So I do have a lot of respect for Charlie Munger as a trader, because he's very active and he actually trades individual stocks like on his own. Whereas Warren does not.
I think that was Lloyd's point too. Is
he was following
Charlie Munger's. I mean, it's hard to argue that. I mean, there are a lot of smart people that are loading up on Alibaba. So I don't know. I don't really buy a whole lot of individual stocks, so it's just not my thing.
You're a different investor than some people.
Because I don't want to track it, and I don't care. Like, I just want to
you want to go. I can put $100 in here, and I know in 10 years I'm going to have
I do have some individual stocks. I do, but I just Alibaba
on guaranteed. You have like nearly guaranteed companies that have been around for at least 10 years. And have proven that they're a viable company. It's
weird because on one hand, I do feel like Alibaba is a pretty safe investment as far as their intrinsic value of their company and their business model. It's just so hard to predict what is going to happen with these regulations. So
these guys are going through it first, and then we're going to see how they do it. And then in the next 5 to 10 years, when other companies start following the path that Jack Ma did, and China's like, okay, we can't stop this flood of entrepreneurialness that's coming out, then we're going to be able to predict technically what the regulations will be different. So they'll be able to play in the rules, and we'll be able to invest, and it'll be safer. Jack Ma is like doing what SpaceX is doing, or he's one of those eccentric billionaires that from back in the old
very
days,
much,
All right, let's move on to the next thing.
Teladoc.
Dalton is loving this one. Here we go. Here's where it's saying,
"Take it away, Dalt. Take it away."
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't like Teladoc's business, but I love the company. So these guys lose a shitload of money. Teladoc Health. They lose.
Not like hiding anything. They're
hundreds.
Holy shit! Do they ever?
But the actual business is actually really, really good. So what Teladoc Health does is they run a online platform that helps them connect doctors with patients, or clinicians with patients, physiotherapists with patients. It's basically an online platform that allows medical professionals to connect with their patients and prospective patients, walk-in clinics, ongoing care, all that good stuff. This is a huge thing here, and I'll tell you why I really like this. And you guys, I know a lot of our viewers are in the United States, are probably not going to pick this up, but our in Canada, our medical system is vastly different from yours. And because it's free, wait lines can be very long at certain places. And when you have this creates a lot of stress. And when you have a online platform where people can be sort of funneled and not have to wait in line, you take a number and your time, you book a time, and when your time is there, you go for your virtual. You don't have to sit around and wait for hours on end and not even know if you're going to wait all these hours and even see a doctor on that day. So I really like this telehealth Teladoc business. my girlfriend used a competitor of theirs for a physiotherapy appointment here earlier in the year in Hamilton here, and she went through the first online consult, and then the second one and the third one were actual physiotherapist movements of telling her how to stretch, how to do this, and watching her movements when she was doing the stretches and all that stuff. And I thought it was really great, and I could see how a lot of people are going to get behind this, and I would be behind this the second that they start to do that thing that I like, which is raise revenues and stick expenses flat, or start to reduce those expenses. Right now, they're in hyper growth phase.
Yeah.
So revenue grows super aggressively. From 2019, revenues were 553 million. Revenues went right over $1 billion in 2020. So again, that's almost 100%.
97% people. 97%.
Well, I
bad
think
news is
that's happened during a
earnings sank by 400%. So losses were 98 million in 2019. In 2020, losses were 485 million. So they're losing a crap load of money, but they're able to keep growing, and the quarterly over quarterlies are starting to get a little bit better too. So Q1, 453 million in revenue, 199 million in losses. By Q2, they had 503 million in revenue. They raised it by $50 million, and earnings was only a loss of 133 million. So they were able to trim it down from 199. If they can continue on that trend to prove that there's actually money in this business, I would certainly be a buyer of Teladoc Health. It ticks when this becomes actual profitable or trending towards profitable, like when I bought DocuSign, now it's profitable, but when I first started buying it, it wasn't. But as long as it has that trend of raising revenues, and losses get smaller and smaller every year, quarter over quarter, so on and so forth, these companies tend to be very, very big growers over time. The institutional ownership as well is fantastic. 79% of all Teladoc shares are owned by major financial institutions. That's more than Facebook has. I think Facebook has 67% or so. So institutions are very bullish on it. I like everything about this company, and I think, again, anything software and cutting down wait times here in Canada, it just sings music to my ears. Like I can't tell you.
No, this already is like, I love this, and this is something that's going to make life easier. And like, imagine if I had, like, I don't have to do a doctor in my home province or even in my state. If this is like, I can end up having a doctor in California who's just as qualified, or in like Vancouver, who can help me out because they have access to all these doctors that aren't necessarily here. Oh my God, the genius of this. Oh my God, Tony, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, look, time is money, right? Nobody wants to wait around for doctor's appointments or wait in line to see a doctor. You can do it all virtual. I love the business model. There's obviously things you can't see a doctor for virtually. There's obviously a lot of things you can't see a doctor for virtually, but for the most part, if you need like a general prescription because you have a cold or a sinus infection or allergies, or maybe some physical therapy appointments, show you how to do stretches, or even see a psychologist, like virtually.
Ongoing patient care too. I mean, if you went in once, then you can be monitored.
Which, by the way, I've used this before. So,
my therapist, when the world closed up, when I was going to therapy, we did virtual therapy sessions. So
great point too, Tony. I forgot to mention that, but I like the company as well because I haven't used it directly, but my girlfriend has, so I've seen it indirectly. And you just said that you've actually used something very similar to that.
Yeah.
Companies that you tend to interact with that are close to you, those are the ones that are really going to go like far. Like
yeah. And I do see a lot of value in this business model, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But I'm concerned because we saw the huge spike of growth during pandemic and COVID and shutdowns. And this is a great business to have for scenarios like this. It's just more advantageous if you have some type of serious problem. You're not going to be dealing with online doctors. You're going to go to a doctor. but it's a nice supplemental thing to have. But like you said, my biggest concern is they just don't make money. In fact, they lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and
Still-
as many people know that watch our shows, I like to invest in companies that make money. So
You're sounding a lot
yeah.
like Mr. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful himself.
I
up there,
hate
Tony.
investing in things that don't make money.
Yeah, it has to make money.
Right. But this makes a lot of sense to me, and I could see this maybe being something that makes money. But like I said, the most concerning thing to me is we're still in a pandemic state and things are locked down still. And I'm wondering, is this business going to keep growing when the world is back to normal eventually?
That's
I
the
don't
question.
know. I don't know. And I don't know if
That's the billion-dollar question right there, Tony.
so. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that concerns me. So
Making money is important.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Remember, guys, if you want your comment read on air or anything like that, make sure you just use the comments down below. Let us know you're watching live or the replay. Any topic you want us also to cover, because we're about to jump into futures, which have been, we're covering futures, right, Dalt?
Yep.
yeah.
We're jumping into futures, which has been requested quite a few times. So yes, comment down below if there's anything. Maria, thank you very much for that. Comment down below if you want. There is going to be a link where you can suggest stock, ETS, crypto topics, all that going to be linked down below. I'm going to be doing that as the show ends. It's going to be in the comments down below, just like Tony's going to share his link to his show. Dalt's going to share his stuff. Mainly, I think you share your link to Battencorp Capital, your blog, correct, Dalt? Just want to make sure there. And of course, if you're listening to the show as a podcast or on our YouTube channel, yes, we have a YouTube channel. So if you're watching this live, go search for our YouTube channel or join the email list where you get a link to the YouTube channel. In the show notes, there's going to be a link there where you can go ahead and check out Tony's podcast as well as Dalt's podcast. All right, Dalt, you wanted to touch on this, or Tony, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to give a quick intro into this because Dalt would have much more information than I would. I know a lot of times in the group we share stock futures, like, oh, futures are up today, futures are down today. Like today, obviously.
Wait. I just want to say we have someone who works in the medical field. Dorothy here says, I'm in the medical field and we had to quickly learn telemedicine. We have found that patients really like it. I believe it is here to stay. So it's not just Dalt and Tony's two people who are just investors. Here's someone who's live working in the field.
Yeah.
They're saying they like it. They're hearing
Dorothy.
positive feedback from patients. So
yeah, thanks, Dorothy. That's good. That's good feedback for sure.
That's perfect feedback. So if you're having an actual live case study, proof that people love using this type of technology, if
Teladoc can really prove that they can make that a profitable business, that stock's going to go wild. If they can turn a profit quarter over quarter, it's going to it's going to go wild.
There we go. Yeah. All right, sorry for stopping you, Tony. Go ahead.
What was this? Oh, so so what I was talking about is that some occasionally will post like, oh, futures are down 1-2% today. Futures are up 1-2% today. And a lot of people in the group might not know what the hell we're talking about. And it'll be like, oh, it looks like today's going to be a good day. And then right off the bat, it shoots up 2%. And people may be confused. Like, how do you know that it's going to be a good day off the bat? Well, with futures, you can kind of get an indication of what's going to happen when the market opens. It doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen for the rest of the day. It can change on a dime. Things do change up and down all day sometimes. But generally, like today, where we saw that futures were opening up over 1% across the major indices in the U.S., that's a pretty good indication that it's going to be a pretty good day, most likely. And it ended up being closing at about 1.5% across the major indexes. So it's a good way to get an indication of if it's going to be a good day or a bad day. And you can look into futures for farther out as well, which Dalt will talk about in a second. But a lot of you are wondering, where can you find that information? So I have the Fidelity app. Fidelity has that information on the app. Most brokerage accounts on their app will show the stock futures for the day. If not, you can always just Google it, and you can find it on Bloomberg or CNN Money or stuff like that. So, or Yahoo Finance. There's a lot of ways you can find that information. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, correct.
And now off to Dalt.
Yeah, the futures market. I really wanted to talk about this because, just as Tony said, like people are wondering how markets move before the stock market actually opens, and so people trade futures all around the world. There's people that are up all hours of the night trading futures over in London when they open. I think at 4 a.m. or something like that. I think there's people over trading in Tokyo right now. They just opened at 8 o'clock. There's people trading all around the world, and the S&P 500 is being traded right now in Tokyo. So those the Japanese will start to trade the S&P 500 now, and you'll get movement there. Then it'll move over to Frankfurt, and then London, and then it'll come back over to New York. And about 9 o'clock, you guys will all start coming on, and you'll be looking at the futures market, wondering why it's either up or down. It's because of Tokyo, Frankfurt, and London. The Asian trading session, the Chinese.
So essentially, it's trading all
it's
day. It's
trading all over, yeah,
all over the world. Yeah.
When one market closes, another market opens. I think there's maybe like 3 or 4 hours in between each one, if that. So usually it's pretty liquid over the whole day, and a lot of people, like, that's basically what derives it. So you have to really look at, I think, when you want to get a gauge of how the S&P 500 is going to perform, you have to get a gauge over the next day of how everybody else's stock market performed, of how, the stock markets in Tokyo performed, China, how they did in Frankfurt, how they're going to do in London, because everybody will pass that pessimism on to the next opening market. That's honestly how it works, and it's for anybody that's looking to try and gauge how the market will open. It's just, you just have to look at other markets. So the best way that I could tell you is I have a FX and CFD account, and I think everybody should, not that you should be trading in there excessively, but it'll allow you to get a live look at all the orders that are coming and going. And should you want to, try and benefit in the fluctuation of that S&P 500 index future before the next trading session, you'll certainly have the option to do that through CFDs, is what most brokers use. Just make sure you use the licensed and registered broker. None of this mytradingforex.com or fxbroker313.ca. None of this crap. Make sure you go with reputable brokers. TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, Questrade International Brokers is great for that. Try to stick to those types of brokers. What was your point there, Phil?
Sorry, speaking of like Forex Trader 15 or any of those stupid things, some people in the group seem to get a spam message, and I should have did this at the top. Don't trust anybody in the group that messages you saying, hey, do you want to invest in this company, or I can help you make money, or anything like that. No. We as admins, we try our best to stop spammers from getting in, and fraudsters and all those. But those people don't care about you or want to help you make money. They want to take your money and then leave you without any money. Never, ever send money to anyone in the group at all that is requesting money. Even if it's myself, Tony, Dalt, or even Johnny, the CEO of the group.
We're
never
never
going to
ask you to send me money. No. Yeah, we're never going to ask you to send us money.
Just don't. And if you see someone saying, hey, join the group or join this Telegram or anything like that, report it, because we can get them out of the group and we can get rid of all the spammers. We're doing our best. Spam used to be incredibly bad at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And now we're getting 1 to 2 a month, but it does happen. Can we ask you to send us money? Mark, no, I will never send you money. Dalt did for a while send you cryptocurrency, but that also got a little expensive. So we may be doing a crypto or a stock or something in the future. We have to look into legalities and all that funny stuff. But yeah, again, don't send money to people in the group if you don't know them longer than 5 years. Just a suggestion. All right, Dalt, let's go into the futures and all that fun stuff.
All right, I'm going to talk about commodity futures next. I'm gonna keep it simple. Talk about the world's most important commodity, oil. So oil futures, they go up, they go down, based on supply and demand. I think everybody understands that. I don't think people understand kind of the relationship of maybe why oil prices go up and down due to supply and demand, though. I think gas prices, where everybody kind of understands, I know that somehow
OPEC.
Yeah. OPEC and oil is connected to gas prices, and if OPEC raises production,
which, by the way,
yeah,
for those of you listening or watching out there, go do about half an hour research on OPEC. It'll blow your mind and how that works and how that came about, actually.
I feel
it's
that
quite the monopoly,
cartel, man.
Yeah, it's quite the monopoly on oil.
I feel like it's like our little maple syrup monopoly that we have here in Canada.
Oh, it's
or in
much
Quebec,
worse.
at least.
Yeah, it's much worse. It's basically a cartel. So
Trump made a pretty good battle against them too. So there's various oil markets, and the ones that come out of OPEC are typically, what do they call that thing? The Gulf of the Persian Gulf. Yeah. So pretty much all OPEC producers come out of the Persian Gulf. That's where all their oil comes out of, and there's all kinds of oil there. Dubai, Iraq, Iran. There's all sources in there, and they're not all the same. So they're all slightly different, but they're all a whole lot lighter and come up a whole lot easier than the oil that we have here in North America. For Canada, we have a whole bunch, but it's all stuck in sand. For you guys, the new revolution is in shale rock, and you drill down and kind of across. So it's a lot more difficult to get in North America than, I like to make the joke of in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, you just stick a straw, 12 inches into the sand and oil starts coming up. But it's almost that easy. It's not.
Don't tell them the secret.
Yeah, it's not quite the whole process of drilling. And all
I have a barrel of oil in my closet right now.
Yeah.
Wait, you're in Saudi Arabia?
Everywhere. Oil's everywhere here. Yeah.
But yeah, the futures market. So U.S. oil, I'm gonna talk about, because that's the most traded one that you all see on TV next to your stock futures and all that. U.S. oil futures work on supply and demand, but it's who is buying. And the question of that is, it really comes down to the one major buyer of U.S. oil, of any oil anywhere, is refiners. So it's refiners like Holly Frontier Corporation is a publicly traded one in the United States. There's many others. Refiners are the ones that buy barrels of oil. And based on that demand that companies like Holly have, they will buy a certain amount of oil, and then they will refine it and turn it into gasoline. And that will travel down to you guys. And so it all depends. And I'll make one point here just to show you how you can kind of track how oil futures are going to move. When Trump was outed and Joe Biden became president, all of the refiners in America kind of figured that there would be higher costs passed on to them by a Democratic president, and there would be less oil drilling and more capping. You guys canceled the one that's in the in the Arctic as well. Biden shut that down quick. You will lose a lot of areas to put your money. So capital expenditures will come down because there's just less opportunity for you guys. And I thought when that happened, a lot of refiners in the US were kind of like, well, if there's going to be less coming up, then the price of existing barrels is probably going to go up. So a lot of US refiners, when Biden came into power, they started buying up oil. They started buying up as much as possible, because refiners make their money based on the margin that they can pass on to people at the gasoline pumps, at the jet fuel pumps, at the asphalt factories, so on and so forth.
It's also important to remember that oil is in not just for gasoline, but there's so many commodities, including plastic. I mean,
Yep.
plastic is made of oil, and I mean, plastic is everywhere.
Plastic,
So,
roads, fuels,
so many products are made
everything.
with oil. So
Everything. So
yeah.
these guys go up, they buy up a whole bunch of oil, and they force the price of oil higher. And that's kind of been what's happening. That continued trend since the start of 2021 is just the ever higher oil price, because refiners just can't get enough of buying up as much as possible, because they don't care if they have it sit in yards, because that low price has been locked in. So these guys will go into the futures market and buy, and then they'll refine at their own pace. But they're not in any hurry to refine a whole bunch, because now they've sent the gasoline prices by having that slow kind of refining process. They've raised the price of gasoline, and now they're making ever more money on what they do process. But they're going to be reluctant to, flood the taps, so to speak. And so that's how gasoline futures would actually fluctuate in price too. So it's just important to understand that. So I think a lot of people see oil and, know oil is going higher because of inflation, all that stuff. And yes, that's true, but it's also because of activity that refiners have in the oil futures market. And when refiners feel like, maybe if, Joe Biden said, for every new well you open, I'm going to pay all refiners $10,000 for every new U.S. oil well that you drill, and you can drill anywhere you want. If that were to happen, you'd see them stop buying as many oil barrels, because they know that producers are going to get back to the field and pull up even more oil, and they're going to bring the price of it down. And so refiners will wait. But refiners don't think that oil prices are coming down, which is why they keep going higher. That's just one point I wanted to make there. And again, for trading, if you wanted to get access to trading all that stuff, FX and CFD accounts, make sure you're with a reputable broker. If you have a stock account with Charles Schwab, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade Interactive Brokers, for guys in Canada, Questrade or whatever, open your FX and CFD account with those guys. They're licensed, they're regulated, and should you hit it big on a huge, $100,000 trade, you won't ever have to worry about your broker packing up and leaving town, because it's not going to happen with a big broker.
No, they have enough money there for you.
Exactly.
All right, so we're running hot here. We're already 18 minutes over our normal.
Hell yeah,
time.
we got it all in.
We got it all in. Let's close it up. Tony, where can they find you? How can they follow you? How can they support you?
The Stock Bros podcast, which I just put out a couple new episodes. Actually, the first one came out today about Social Security. Everyone is all up in arms about Social Security, and the big news today, or a couple days ago, is that Social Security announced they're going to be increasing the payout to match inflation of 5.9, the largest raise ever for Social Security. So, and that episode is out now, and I'll put the link in the comments below. And also use my referral links, and that will help me out, because I'm doing it for free. So
costs you guys nothing. Here it is, guys. It costs you nothing. You're forcing the big companies to pay us. That's what you do when you use our referral links. So, Tony, I believe you have Acorn in the show notes, right?
Yeah. Acorn.
Show notes
I have my course that you guys can check out for all the new people, and that's about it. Yeah.
And then you, adult, where can we find you? Where can we support you? And
find me in the group, as always, at me, Oddly Johnny in the group, at Risme Life on Instagram. Bantencourt Capital is my blog, you all know. And I'm going to drop one last little gift here for you, because this is what I use to, trying to get in the mood about futures, and if I'm ever trying to make a futures trade. The most loved book of all time, The Futures Game. Who Wins, Who Loses, and Why. The third edition, it's by Richard J. Tools and Frank J. Jones. It's a great book. It's super expensive. But if you're going to trade futures, it'll tell you everything you need to know about every future. Oil, corn, pigs, wheat, index futures, currency futures, and it's a Bible on everything futures. If you're going to get into that stuff, I recommend it.
There you go. Already dropping knowledge. And of course, if you guys want to find out more about me and what I do, I am the podcast mogul. You can listen to my plethora of podcasts I have, but pretty much just go to Instagram at podcasterphilbetter, and you can follow me there. I love all your faces. Adult, before we jump off, is it on Amazon?
Yes, I got it on Amazon. Yeah, I
There
think
you
it's
go.
like $80 or so Canadian. So for you guys,
It's like
67 or something like that. I think.
it's
Not
a
bad.
maple syrup donut for
Sell
you
those
guys.
Dogecoin profits and
There you
get a
go.
book.
Make your money off that Dogecoin and then learn how to use them in futures. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Stock Dirty to Me podcast, where we go live in the stock market for beginners group. If you're looking to join the group, the links are in the show notes down below. This is mainly for the podcasters. Anybody's watching live, you guys can leave if you want. I'm doing the close for the podcasters. Yes, podcasters, listeners, if you want to join this group of 50,000 members strong, where we help you live in the group, answering your questions about what you should be investing. Is it a smart investment? What the heck is a future? What is an option? All those crazy things. Make sure you check out the links in the show notes down below. Join us and be part of the community so that you can become a multi-millionaire like our good friend Lloyd Ross and the two smart guys who are standing above me, who are making more money than I am in the investing world. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day.